Welcome back, everyone, to Nerdrotic. My name is Gary Beekler. I come to you from nerdrotic.com, and I am live in San Diego County, California, on my way out of this state. The process has begun. I'm very excited. So this is for everyone who has said, don't you ever talk about anything positive? Don't you ever talk about any good TV? Well, good TV is hard to find these days. So this is your review because I love The Expanse. I've been talking about this show since I started this channel. They kind of coincided. The first video of mine that ever got any real serious traction was, unfortunately, that night The Expanse was canceled after season 3 went live. I was pretty bummed. And thankfully it was revived only to get canceled again after season 6, or as they say, put on pause. And I think they're insane to do this, but they are going to do it. We'll see if that actually happens. And it does kind of make sense with the books, considering what happens there, which I will not spoil. So I want to start out by saying, the first part of this review I won't spoil anything. It's hard to say that there would be spoilers later when we start discussing details of the episode, because what isn't really spoilers to me, because I've read the books, will be spoilers to a lot of people. So I'm very happy to report that they only aired 3 episodes tonight, and I was happy to stop and wait until next week when we get the 4th episode. They put a schedule up on Twitter, and it will be weekly. I was begging them to make the show weekly in season 4, and I've said it quite a bit on live streams and in videos that I felt they made a huge mistake by doing that, and maybe that's what's behind it getting canceled in season 6. Unfortunately, they dropped season 4 right when The Fall of Skywalker came out, and Star Wars sucked all the oxygen out of the pop culture room, and there wasn't enough room to talk about a show that dumped everything all at once, and in a couple weeks it was just in the ether. People had forgotten about it, and that's why you need to release these shows weekly. I would prefer that they release them at a set time, and maybe they did and I missed it. I was actually messaging someone today, and they're all, hey, the Expanse dropped them all. Did? Oh, damn. Okay. And I went to the gym and I sat back and watched 3 episodes, and I wish I took notes, but I didn't, because I was really into the shows. And I really love what Naren Shankar has done with this show. I think in a lot of ways, this might be sacrilege to some people, it improves on the books. And following the crew of the Rocinante is key, because the books don't always do that. Some of the new characters are good. Some are all right. Ashford is the best example of a character that wasn't that great in the book that was like all-time great in the show. And his absence was felt, although he loomed over these first 3 episodes. And it was pretty epic. It was pretty epic. I'm very happy. I'm happy to report there is good television out there. There's television out there that doesn't want to offend half of its fan base through the storyline anyway, and just wants to tell you a story. It's a dark story, and there was a time I actually called this Game of Thrones in space, but I wouldn't want to disrespect The Expanse by calling it Game of Thrones in space. I think it would have caught on with more people if it had released weekly in season 4. And I'll let it go, because what's done is done. And I'm glad they changed their mind. So what did I think of the first 3 episodes? Well, this isn't going to be that exciting. Oh, why are we not seeing any chat there? Hang on. We're going to have to fix that. Give me just a moment. Sorry. Rookie move there. And we will reset. And you can see how I do this now. Isn't it fancy? There you are. There's the chat. Sorry about that. Welcome, everybody, by the way. I loved these first 3 episodes. I don't have any real criticisms of them at all. They made a lot of changes from the book. And the book they're adapting is Nemesis Games. I feel it's the best book in the series. It's the Empire Strikes Back of the Expanse, where you have your main characters spread out through the story, and the bad guys do a lot of winning throughout, and it has disastrous results, and you could really feel the tension in these first 3 episodes because it's building up to something. I won't say what, but and it's been building up to something that they hinted to at the end of last season. Marco Inaro is, I was worried that they weren't going to cast this guy right. I was like, this is going to be a tough one to cast. And I'm sorry I don't know the actor's name because I didn't take my notes. I will by the next review. He did a great job. He is Marco Inaro. They followed what they needed to with the book to get their point across. Sure, they left a couple things out I like. They always do. As they say in the editing room, I used to do a little editing down there in Hollywood. It's called killing babies. You have to take parts out of the story or take clips out that you're in love with. Yeah, it's a horrible term, but that's still, it's life. So yeah, I was enthralled from the very beginning. And I really feel like this show hasn't lost a step at all. As a matter of fact, it felt like the pacing from season 1 and 2, which I think are just spectacular television. The only complaints I've had for season 3 or 4 is they were both kind of rushed. If you remember, they didn't even cover an entire book in the first season. They finished it up halfway through season 2. And I really like that formula, but I understand why they changed it. And they have a reduced episode count now, but you can tell that they put the money into other things. For the most part, the effects were great. And I don't hate to bring up shows like Star Trek Discovery. When you compare it to this, well, there is an actor. She plays Sakai, the mechanic. She was in Star Trek Discovery season 2. She was in the little mushroom dimension. And she was, like everything else in Star Trek Discovery, subpar, awful. But in this, she was great. And it really shows you what good writing can do. And that's simply why this show succeeds. It's got characters you give a crap about. It's got decent writing. They try to get the science right for the most part. There was some little whipping sounds in space, and they mute the sounds. So it's fine. It's fine. But they really try to get the whole speed inertia thing down, and I like that. And this is proper science fiction. It's really hard to go. I'm usually full on spoilers on these, so I'm trying to hold back a little bit for the people who don't want to be spoiled. If you haven't seen this, I would jump on Amazon Prime and see it right now. If you have it. And if you haven't caught up with the series, then you're in for a treat. We're on series 5. I'm going to say it like the British do, series. And, I was concerned because, without Miller and Ashford, and to think we had Miller and Ashford in the same season, that we were spoiled. And missing those 2 characters, I was kind of worried that the show would be a little bland. But it's not. I am a little bummed about Cass Anvar and Alex and his fate. They said he's not going to be returning for season 6 due to some shenanigans, some Me Too stuff. I don't know the details. I don't know if the details have even gotten out there. I don't know if he actually did something serious or if it's a transgression that is only looked at as serious in today's Hollywood. So he could have done something bad, or he could have done something that might be perceived as bad to certain circles, and maybe you can find forgiveness in your heart. I don't know, but the show's going to miss this guy because he's great as Alex. Again, I have no idea what he did. But it's a bummer that he's not going to be back in season 6. Fred Johnson came back, which was good. That actor is usually on the Orville, another good show out there, one of the very few. And it was good to see him back. Stephen Strait, who I completely forgot was in 10,000 BC. I was watching a little bit of 10,000 BC, and I'm like, oh my God, that's Stephen Strait. That's Holden, fighting a mammoth. Interesting. That movie was awful, by the way. 200 Watt Studios for $5. These 3 rocked. Loved the Amos character moments. Ice in the napkin. Yes. Amos. They say Amos. Amos. That's my literal reading. I don't know. Wes Chapman is brilliant as Amos. And it's a lot different from the Amos in the book, who was older, uglier. The characters look nothing like they do in the book. So Alex he's got a boiler. He's balding, and he's about 10 to 15 years older, 10 years older. In the books, Amos is older. He's bald. Kind of think of a Dave Bautista. That's kind of what Amos looks like. That's how I imagine anyway. Naomi is really tall, and she has lots of hair. And in this one, she's short. And they can't do, obviously, what they do with the Belters in the books. All the Belters in the books are, over 6 feet tall. They're really skinny because they grew up in space. They try to do that occasionally in the show, but, it's hard to find really tall, skinny people all the time. And Cara, is it Cara G or Cara G? I never remember. As drummer was damn good. And drummer's another character that they've really built up from the books. And I think they took off from that and they made her a stronger character later on in the books. But she is great. But the best moments were with Amos. You're right. Amos goes, everybody is being spread out. So I got to tell you a little bit about the plot. So the Rocinante is in for some repairs because it took quite a beating last season. And this gives everybody an opportunity to take a little break. They don't go into that too much in the show, but they do in the books. Alex wants to go home to Mars to try to apologize to his wife that he just bailed on and kid. Bobby Draper is back on Mars. She's working for Avasarala. I got to say it like, why am I forgetting his name? See, I'm rusty on all my Expanse. The guy who reads the audiobooks, Jefferson Mays. Could be wrong on that one. But he says Christina Avasarala, who's brilliant in it. So Bobby is on Mars, and she is doing some work for her, trying to find who is selling arms to the Belters. And there's something nefarious going on there. Holden is just hanging out at the ship. Drummer is the captain of a pirate crew now. She just took off. Remember, Ashford asked her if she wanted to be his XO, and she said no. And she's kind of regretting that decision, but she shouldn't because she's alive and he's not. At the end of last season, he went on the hunt for Marco. He did find him, but then Marco spaced him and left his ship. Then we have Avasarala is out of office now, and she's just got a diplomatic job, and she took it so she can stay in the loop because she knows there's something going on. One thing they didn't really, and maybe I missed it. I got to watch. I usually like to watch these twice. So in the books, they really explain that since the ring gates went up, it really upended the economy and the political structure of Earth, Mars, and the Belt. And if you're just watching this review because you like me and you haven't seen The Expanse, I have to, and I appreciate that, Mom. So the structure of the Expanse is you have Earth, you have Mars, and you have the belt. Earth is overpopulated. It's basically run by the UN due to an environmental disaster, and they do a very good job of showing you an Earth run by the UN that would be as realistic as possible, and the picture is not pretty. A good share of the world is on basic, which is something they're trying to introduce today, and it's not a very good form of life. You sit there and watch TV all day. You get just enough money to live, but you really can't do much. Giant mega corporations basically run the planet along with the government. Don't know what the small business situation is. They haven't gone into that, but there's a huge black market, as you would think. And those are the circles that Amos is from. Mars is a military planet. They were a colony of Earth, and they declared their independence. And there has been basically a Cold War between Earth and Mars ever since. And the Belters were basically teamsters. They were out there on all the asteroids, mining for minerals and such, and supplying Earth and Mars. And they are separating the OPA, the Outer Planets Alliance, and they are separatists at this point. But they still, there was still kind of, it was very tense, but it was working. They were supplying Earth and Mars, but there is terrorist groups within the OPA, or separatist, or revolutionaries, however you want to put it. And the one thing is they do focus a lot on the belt, but they don't make the belt the good guys all the time. Sometimes they're the bad guys, sometimes they're the good guys. And really, that's the whole premise of this, is there's good people working for, or good people working for bad people, good people working for bad organizations. And so there's a lot of shades of gray. So there's no clear good guy and bad guy. And it's a lot like the Seven Kingdoms of Westeros. They were always fighting. They had this really uneasy alliance under Robert Baratheon. Once he was gone, everything went to hell. And it's a similar situation. And while you had all the political squabbling, there was these ice zombies coming down that turned out to be a giant disappointment because they barely made it off their front lawn. But there's something similar in this. There's a giant, there's a blue something. It's called the protomolecule, and it's out there presenting danger for everyone. And each faction, each government had a piece of it and tried to reverse engineer the technology, tried to create super soldiers, do all this stuff, and it all, went to hell. But we find out that the protomolecule is an alien tool, basically, and it can take just about anything to make what it needs. And what it needed to make was ring gates, and these ring gates are gates to other worlds throughout the galaxy. And that's what opened up, and they finally went to another planet last season. There was a bunch of alien technology, and even just a little a nub of protomolecule could turn on basically an entire planet. So, and that's what was projecting a Ghost Miller into Holden's head. And Tom Jane as Miller, brilliant. He was absolutely brilliant. And of course he's missed. And Home, the 5th episode of the 2nd season, is my favorite episode. I thought that was just brilliant, and he was brilliant in it. So here we are. The protomolecule is supposed to be gone, and we have basic. It's like the Old West now. Everybody's getting on their wagon trains and heading out to stake their claim. A lot like the gold rush and the land rush. And it's upsetting the entire balance. And Mars is going to be the most affected because they were this military planet and they were trying to terraform it, but it was, a century away. And there's people on Mars thinking, well, why would we sit here and wait for our, generations after us? Because we're never going to see this place terraformed. Why would we sit around and wait when we can go to another planet now where we can breathe outside? And there's resources. And because of that, the military structure feels threatened. Well, you know who else feels threatened? The Belt. The Belt, their entire economy was based on Mars and Earth. And now we have overpopulated Earth is very happy to help people off their planet for immigration to other planets. And Mars can't afford to lose anybody. And the Belt is just kind of caught in the middle going, well, we're useless now. Although they do have control of the gate, the main gate in a giant space station that's inside. You enter a gate, and it's this giant sphere that takes you to other gates. And they have a station in there, and they control everything. But it's a very loose control. And Mars and Earth at this time could probably take it whenever they want, and they know that. So there are factions in the Belt that are like, we're going to be useless unless we do something drastic. Well, this is the season something drastic happens, and everything goes to hell. But these first 3 episodes were just setup, basically, kind of telling you where all the characters were. Again, Amos went down to Earth to go pay respects to Lydia, who was not his mom. All right, Amos grew up in the slums of Baltimore, and he was born into prostitution, and he was used as a kid and passed around until he got too old, and then he was going to eventually be used as muscle until he died, and he was saved by somebody passed away. So he wants to go pay his respects. Again, Alex wants to go to Mars. Bobby's on Mars. And Naomi Nagata's got to go see her son that she abandoned that we found out about last season. And she had that son with the big bad Marco Inaro. Her son is named Philippe. And the first episode starts out with Philippe doing something bad. And they do some strange stuff, and I wonder how they're going to handle it in the series. Because with a couple of characters later on in the books, and one of these characters doesn't exist in the show, and that's good because I can't stand the character Michia Pa. She was pretty irredeemable, and they made her like a goddess, and I was like, are you kidding me? She's like Space Hitler. So she's not in here. We got a drummer, again, who's running her pirate ship, but Naomi wants to take off and try to save her son from the dad, who, he's the kid has been living with his father his entire life. Naomi had to bail on him because it was dangerous for her. It was abusive and stuff, and she had to get the hell out. And unfortunately, she couldn't bring her kid with her, and she wants to go and try to save him because she's pretty convinced that he's going to get killed because it's a giant bounty on Marco Inaro's head. So that's where we set off. Again, Fred Johnson's in it. Monica Stewart comes back, the news lady, and she's got a pretty good part in it. I'm wondering if they're going to mention a certain big bad because they're leaving off at season 6. They're going to have to rush through a lot of stuff, and I'm wondering what they're going to do next season because there is a big bad, bigger than Marco, and I don't know if they're going to introduce him or just leave the character out completely. And it looks like they might do that. I could be wrong, and I hope I am. I'm going to read some super chats. Hopefully they don't spoil. And then we're going to get into spoiler territory, but I'll warn you before we do. Free Kodak Black for $10. Yo, Gary, what the hell is Amazon doing? Are they using the Expanse marketing budget to film those orc sex scenes? Maybe. Had no idea they even finished filming season 5 till you tweeted out a few hours ago. Yeah. Well, at least Amazon promotes their stuff. Netflix doesn't do it at all. They made a huge mistake last season. They did. This would be a much bigger show. Everybody who sees it, for the most part, likes it. Not everyone likes hardcore science fiction, and that's what this is. But it's clearly the best thing. I can't even believe that Sci-Fi produced this. This was on their network, and Thankfully, it came to Amazon. But yeah, I don't know what they're doing. Amazon, Lord of the Rings is filming right now, and I hope that show's good. But I don't know, man. Nude scenes, sex scenes. The Game of Thrones, Brian Cogman was there just to advise, and he's gone now, so that might be good. Trenna is pronounced like Trend Guthridge for $2. The yarn is on its way. Oh, cool! I gotta say, thank you. Trenna is gonna make me a Fourth Doctor scarf, and I will pay you via PayPal. I'll do that tonight. Thank you. The 70s rock fan for $5. As an old school science fiction fan, and I'm so old, I grew up reading books. Oh, man, books. Got ourselves a reader here. The Expanse has been a godsend in these days of woke and infinite crap. Yes, I felt like I found an oasis in the desert of creative oblivion tonight by watching these 3 episodes, which I'm going to watch again right after this live stream. And I've been just taking in a heavy dose of Farscape lately, and which Naren Shankar worked on, and old Doctor Who, old Star Trek, because I'm putting together a Picard review right now. And when you put those two shows together, it is night and day. It really is. And it shows you that Hollywood is capable of telling a story that doesn't, for one, The Expanse doesn't need to go out and do things like, well, we've got a pansexual, one-legged, lead, agnostic lead. They don't, because it takes place roughly around the same time as Star Trek, the original series, the 23rd century. But it's a lot more grounded, a lot more real, and it's not utopia at all. So everything in there makes sense, and they just present characters, and they let the characters speak for themselves. They don't have to virtue signal a character. It's not necessary in this show. And this is the perfect example, I think, of how professionals work. Gary, it's been a while since I've seen a show, and a long time since we saw Star Wars. Love you, buddy. Sad to see you're still in Clownifornia. Adam, the Last Starfighter. What's up, Adam? How's it going? Yeah, dude, it's been a year. Thank you for the $4.99. I am in the process of looking at houses. So that's happening. As a matter of fact, I found one I liked. And if we can get it, I still have to sell my house in San Francisco, but I think we're going to try to nab this one. I might be eating like ramen and cat food for the next, few months, but it might be worth it to get out. It's a beautiful home, and it would save us a lot of money. It's just cheaper to live other places. You know that? California is expensive. Michael Geringer, welcome to the proto-molecule level, which is named after The Expanse, one of the last great shows on television. And I hope they take their time with season 6. Don't end this, and maybe they'll change their mind. Now, again, the writers of the books came out and said that this is a pause, and maybe they're going to take a couple, 3 years off and come back. And there's a reason for that. We could talk about it in the spoiler section, which is coming up. Tom Jane directed the 3rd episode of season 5. He did not. I did not see that, 200 Watt Studios. That is brilliant. That is brilliant. He did a great job. That was, it ended. Oh my God, that ending. Oh, and you knew it was coming. And that ending, I was just like, damn. And it's, shit's about to get crazy. Ragfear or Ragfire, thank you for the $10 in the super sticker. I appreciate it. Hail. Eric K, it's great to see you back. Welcome back from Las Vegas, sir. Thank you for the $2. All right, I'm going to get into spoilers, and I'm not going to go over every little bit of each episode because I didn't take notes. But if you guys have questions in the chat, just hit @Nerdrotic, and I'll answer what I can, and I'll let you know what I thought of certain plot points. And honestly, we're in the first 3 episodes. This is all set up. but they were, I mean, I had to think about it. I'm like, God, I really love those, but did I really love these episodes because of the, is it the Eddie Murphy Ritz cracker situation where, like, I have been starved for good TV for so long that, if somebody gives a starving man a Ritz cracker, it's the greatest thing he ever tasted. I don't think so. And it really felt like season 1 and 2 again. And that's crazy. Tom Jane directed episode 3. I think that's great. I just wish more people knew about this show and watched this show. All right. So we're going to pull up my visual reference. So the big change, and again, spoiler warning, the big change is they don't show the raid on the Martian base where they get so what they're doing, what the OPA is, what the Free Navy is doing. Marco Inaro runs the Free Navy, and they are planning an attack on Earth, and this attack is slinging rocks. They also had in the books, I believe they had, and again, it's been a couple of years since I read the books. They had these tungsten, because they have rail guns, right? So the rail guns have these tungsten, basically bullets, and they also have giant stealth. They can basically layer the meteor with stealth, and so it gets by any of the trackers that Earth is surrounded by meteor trackers. So if anyone comes in, they can take one out. Hopefully, we're working on that technology today. By the way, while we're busy squabbling over a lot of stuff right now, that is the biggest danger. It's a bigger danger than, it's a more imminent danger than, however you feel about climate change. It's a more imminent danger than anything, because we say we can track these things, but we really can't track them all. And even if a few small ones get by, that could be catastrophic, and it wouldn't take much. This is something I've been kind of into and it's funny. I started getting into it when I went to Meteor Crater in Arizona. And when I was going to Meteor Crater, I was listening to this book on audio. So I got to see a big hole in the ground, and that was made by not a very big meteor that blew out a mile in circumference out of the ground. And that there was nothing left of that meteor, and it was made out of iron and nickel as well. So we start out tracking a meteor, and Philippe, there is an Earth science vessel out there tracking them, and they see him, and they see they're kind of an anomaly, and they can tell that these things have been slung. They couldn't tell right away, but they could tell there was something off about them. Then their ship gets raided, and that raid is led by Philip, and they kill everybody on the ship, him and his crew, and that's Marco's crew. And he lives to make his papa proud. So he loves his papa. And his papa has radicalized a large portion of the OPA. Now, Fred Johnson has kind of loosely run it with Anderson Dawes. But you can't trust Anderson Dawes. You just can't. And Fred Johnson is a former Earther. And he's the former butcher of Anderson Station. He was on an op where they basically killed a bunch of Belters. He was so pissed that he was part of it that he ended up going to the other side and trying to help them build an actual society and break off and form their own society. And he's been loosely in charge ever since. Not all the Belters love him. And then we're just seeing, the first part is the Rocinante's being worked in. Amos is going down to Earth. He immediately gets in a fight. He's on some shuttlecraft, and he's in lower class. He didn't take he gets the cheap seats, and some belters came in and said, you got to pay your insurance. He says, I don't pay insurance. Then he took him out to the shower and beat the shit out of everybody. What they don't explain here is Amos doesn't really know how to feel grief. So in the book, he finds out essentially his mom dies, and he doesn't know how to process that. Amos is still trying to reconnect with his humanity because it's essentially been turned off due to the fact that he was horribly abused as a kid. He was passed around as a kid, then he got saved later, but it really made him a sociopath. So when he's feeling feelings, he doesn't really know, so he usually likes to beat the shit out of things. Instead of just being sad. But, he has a little fun. Also, in the book, I believe didn't he have a cold? He had a cold. And then when he beat the shit out of those guys, he felt better. Monica Stewart also talks to Holden. Holden's all alone now. So basically, Naomi wants to go see if she can save Philip, and she doesn't want Holden to go with him. So, she doesn't want to take an Earther with her because she's going to be going, deep into the OPA or the Free Navy, and obviously he wouldn't be very welcome there, and he would probably screw everything up. So he's got to stay back. And again, Alex is gone. Everybody's gone. So he's alone. So, Holden, the Holden in the book, and they do a pretty good job of kind of getting this across in the show too. He's kind of just just floating through life. He always does the right thing, but it's like our hero slacker, Holden, who just wants a good cup of coffee, and then ends up, doing the right thing that pisses everyone off, but it's still ultimately the right thing to do, but not the most political thing to do. He's always good at that. He runs across Monica Stewart, and she asks him if anybody's still working on the proto-molecule, and he's all, nope, nobody's still working on the proto-molecule. It's all been destroyed. She's all, that's funny, because I heard somebody was working on the proto-molecule, and she's trying to get something out of him. He refuses to do it. Now, Holden knows damn well that Fred Johnson has an inactive sample of the proto-molecule, and I think Anderson Dawes had it with I'm forgetting that Russian scientist who God, I forgot his name now. But Anderson Dawes supposedly has it, and that's the only one out there. Everyone, Mars has lost theirs, Earth is lost, everybody's lost their sample of the protomolecule, and this is the only one that exists. And that's good, because if anyone gets a hold of it, the more planets they're going to through the rings, they're finding more alien structures. And if anybody gets any protomolecule near the alien structures, they could turn on the planet, blow up a planet, kill thousands, millions of people, or it can draw back what killed the protomolecule, because we still don't know the race of aliens who created the protomolecule were a hive mind. We don't know what they look like. They were wiped out in a nanosecond by something that looked like the Eye of Sauron. We don't know what it is. It lives in the space between spaces, and going through the ring gates might disturb it. That's all we know. Holden and Fred Johnson have a little talk, and Holden, Fred's like, just why don't you try to get a life, dude, instead of trying to always think about the end of the world. Holden's worried that Monica's on to the protomolecule, and Fred doesn't seem that worried. He says it's just rumors, but Fred should be worried. He should be very worried. Amos heads down to Earth. He has a quick conversation with Avasarala. and she wants to know what he's doing down there. He said he's paying his respects. She doesn't really believe it. She asks him if he's going to kill anybody. He doesn't say anything, and she says, "I won't bail you out." But they have a good scene together. They have some pretty decent chemistry. Avasarala is on to something as well. She knows that the Belters are buying weapons from Mars, and she thinks it's the Martian military, and she has good reason to think that because Mars and the Belt, their economies are collapsing right now. And during collapsing economies, people get desperate, and people who were part of the system all of a sudden are out of the system and look to save their own ass. And the next episode here, I really should have taken notes, but it's okay. So Exodus is the name of the first episode, and the second episode is called The Churn, which is named after a novella that featured Amos Burton, which is brilliant. And I love how they incorporate some of the novellas into this show because it's quite simply the best written show on television. The Expanse is the best written show on television. The only one that would be equal is Better Call Saul, in my opinion. Now, I haven't seen every show, but what I've seen, Better Call Saul and The Expanse are top tier. So there's infiltrators on Tycho Station, and Fred is already losing control, and Marco's plan has already been initiated. And what we're doing is we know the plan has already been hatched. We know the rocks have already been slung, and we're watching our characters slowly try to figure it out. Now, Ashford, at the end of season 4, had figured it out and got a little recording of Marco, but people need to find that recording. And that's what Drummer ends up doing. Amos returns to Baltimore, and Lydia died, and he meets Lydia's boyfriend or husband. He had been there for 10 years, and he had said Lydia was always waiting for you to come back, but you never did. And it looked like, Amos went there looking for trouble. He thought that she might have been killed, and then he finds out that she's actually been living this really happy life with a good guy, and she used to be into crime too. In the underworld, and she had gotten out of all that and just lived a happy life for 10 years, as happy as she could. And she died quietly in her sleep. But turns out that this guy's going to get kicked out of his house because it was actually owned by one of the kids that Lydia helped raise, who's a big time, drug and crime kingpin named Eric with a lame arm. And that's right out of the book. So Amos goes, "Nope, you're going to stay here. Don't pack up. I'm going to go talk to Eric." He beats the crap out of a guy, gets taken to Eric, and we get a little background on Amos. And we find out that Amos and Eric were brothers. They grew up and they were abused together, and Lydia brought them up. And there's a guy named Amos Burton that Timothy, because Amos's real name is Timothy. He killed Amos Burton, took his name, and had to leave the planet and never came back. And Eric got all of this stuff, all of Amos's stuff, who was probably a drug kingpin, and he promised to take care of Lydia the rest of her life. Well, she died, and Amos wanted to make sure that the husband got taken care of. Eric thought Amos was there to come take all his shit, and he was surprised that he wasn't. And Amos is just, "I want the husband taken care of. That's it." Takes his bottle of liquor and leaves. And Eric's like, "I love you. I miss you. You ever come back, I'll put you down. Don't ever show your face on Earth again, because if you get caught, then it's going to get back on me." He's all fine. And you're watching the crew of the Rocinante kind of, unbeknownst to them, get some closure with some people, because it's probably going to be the last time they're ever going to see him. And Amos takes off. He says, "I've got one more trip to make." He calls Avasarala. He calls her Chrissy. "I need a favor." And that's obviously, that favor is he's going to go visit somebody in a certain prison, but we haven't seen that yet. Drummer comes across Ashford's ship, it's been stripped, but she knows there's some backup files there. She ends up finding them. We get to see some naked drummer. Yeah, that's not terrible. And she finds Ashford's backup drives, which is a recording of Marco Inaro basically saying he's going to sling meteors at the Earth. She passes that on to Fred Johnson, who eventually passes it on to Avasarala. Avasarala has been trying to prove it all this time, but she's basically out of politics. So she's trying to bring it up to the president. The president of the UN hates her. So she only keeps her around to punish her because Avasarala treated her like shit too in politics. So she lets her in meetings, but she doesn't really let her say much. She has one admiral who's her friend, but she's losing him quickly. And she's trying to convince everybody, hey, there's going to be an attack on the Earth from Marco Inaro. And, nobody's listening. And it reminds me of all the times I was watching Buffy, and Buffy was going, yeah, we live near a hellmouth and there's demons coming, and people go, no, Buffy, you're overreacting. And every time she wasn't overreacting. So they're not listening to Avasarala. And Naomi heads down to, Palace Station. She goes to Palace Station. There's multiple stations around the solar system. And these are giant cities, essentially, in space. And this is where most of the Belters live. They don't see the sky. They breathe recycled air. So Belter culture is all about, it's all working class, and it's all about being mechanics or being engineers. And like every Belter is like an expert on air filters. Recycled air filters and recycled water. And these are all the precious things to them. And they're a hard culture. They're very hard. So Naomi goes down to see Philip to try to talk him out of it. Of course, he doesn't want anything to do with it. He basically tells her to screw off. She bought him a spaceship. And she's like, I'll give you money. I'll give you the ship. You can fly away from me and your dad. And he's like, screw you. My dad's been right about you. And they end up kidnapping her. A drummer wants to go after Marco Inaro out of vengeance, but there's a huge price on his head. She kind of puts it off like, no, this will be a good financial opportunity. And the crew's like, no. They don't want to go after him because some might be sympathetic. And that's going to be the big problem is you've got Belters who want to do the right thing. And then you have the Belters who have just had enough, and they're going to be sympathetic to Marco. Even after he's going to do what he's about to do. And again, there's nothing stopping this. And we all know that. There's giant meteors flying towards Earth, and they show you the meteors like every few minutes. They key in on it. And it's just this slow burn till I skipped a lot, but there's a slow burn. And then the end of the third episode, you see the first one hits in Africa, I believe. And that's where they end the episode, and all hell is going to break loose. And that's going to be the interesting thing about this season, because while you'll have the subplot of the proto-molecule and what's going on with that, it's really not going to be part of this season at all. It's going to be about survival and a lot of factions changing, a lot of structures changing forever. And it's going to play out pretty well. I just don't know how they're going to wrap it up in a sixth season, but we'll have to find out. We'll have to find out together. And I turned on that studio light way too bright. My God. But yeah. Jim Wong for $5 Australian. Not a huge fan of The Expanse. The first arc with after the first arc with Miller and Julia, I feel the proto-molecule should have remained a mystery. Just my thought. Yeah, well, they didn't do that in the book, but it still is. Because the new mystery is what killed the makers of the proto-molecule. And that's one that they really took their time. That's where I got kind of pissed with the books later on, is they really took their time answering that question, and they're only going to answer it in the final book. Now, they were really good about getting a book out every year. This one's going to take a couple of years. Tarka Jedi, brilliant point, Nerdrotic. The Belters are the working class. Yes, they are the blue-collar workers. They are the Teamsters. They're basically factions, which are unions. And they get screwed over, but I think they make a good point of showing, even somebody said it this episode. I'm blanking on the character's name, but he goes up to Fred Johnson and he goes, "You know what your problem is? You assume the underdog is always the good guy." And that's the truth. Some underdogs are not all underdogs are good guys, and not all Belters are good guys. As a matter of fact, half of them are bad and half of them are good. Same with Earth, same with Mars. But, throughout the books, we've had bad guys who were Belters. We've had bad guys who were American owners of giant American companies. We've had bad Earth politicians. Mars has always been out there and treated as a boogeyman, but they've actually been pretty cool throughout the whole book series for the most part. Not everyone, for the most part. Until now. Thanks, Tarka Jedi. What's up, Eric K? Wow, I'm trying to read what U.S. Dutch Kitty said. I'm all, that is not about the Expanse. Tarka Jedi says, "I love your show, mate. Thank you for keeping me sane. Are you moving to Texas? Kind regards from Australia." Tarka Jedi, I am moving to Texas. I am going to be moving outside of San Antonio, way outside of San Antonio. I'm not going to get anywhere near a city ever again. Done with cities. You know what? They're fun if you're, well, they were fun if you were single or you didn't have any kids and you like going out a lot, but not my thing. I want to see sky. All right. I'm just looking for questions. I don't see any questions for the Expanse. So, yeah, I mean, hi, I just wanted to ask, is it worth it or should I just read the books? I would, honestly, Abby smashed that thumbs up. Thanks, Eric. The books are great up until this book. And I mean, great. I would say the first book is the best. The fifth book is the second best. But it's solid books 1 through 5. It starts going downhill in book 6. Books 7 and 8 are just, I would dare say they are pointless. They're pointless adventures. And then especially book 6 and 7. 8 rallies a bit, but what they do is they sideline a lot of their main characters due to a plot point, which I will not bring up. That makes no sense at all. Like, no sense at all. And I don't know why they did it, but they basically sideline Holden, for 2 books. And this is the character you have been following his perspective from the beginning, and you just sideline him. And I got to wonder why they did that. I don't know. I would watch the show. I think you're better off watching the show, to be honest with you. Okay, so I like it very much. What I don't like is SJW-ism. So I read books only, and I have started doing that only. Yeah, and that's a lot of times you're not getting, I certainly know where, and I've never cared what side of the aisle somebody was on in Hollywood until before 2015. And this show did premiere before 2015 when Hollywood just went insane. And Hollywood is at one of its worst points ever as far as television and film. They haven't produced a lot of good. Now, there's still some good stuff out there, but we were spoiled before this. God, I remember 2015, 16, 17. We had Counterpart coming out. We had a Westworld season 1 looked good, and it was good. Season 1 was good. And we had Taboo, a show that never got a second season, which is brilliant. We had Daredevil season 1 and 2. I mean, some of the best television ever. I mean, we had a lot of good stuff coming out. Stranger Things just started. Then it went to crap. It just went to crap. And maybe it's because of the streaming wars, but kisses to you, Lethal Lightning. Lethal Lightning simping in my super chat there. What's up, dude? What's up, Lethal? Oh, man. Hey, Lethal, I'm making friends with my Star Wars opinions. I'm glad you're on my side, buddy, with not caring, because I don't either. Which sucks, though, because you were a huge Star Wars fan. Isn't it great when they just completely throw away fans like Lethal Lightning? Here we go. Why don't you like books 7 and 8? I thought they were dope. Tempest, enough said. Avon Tom for $4.99. Book 7 was a drag to me. It was just a side trip that I didn't feel like was necessary. And most importantly, because each book, they introduced new characters, and I really wasn't into the new characters at all. 8 was a rebound. It was a rebound. Towards the end, it was really good. Okay. With Amos, that whole thing with Amos was crazy what they did. Bionic Belly Button for $5. Do you think the writers will be able to wrap up the show satisfactorily in one season? I am hopeful. I think they can. These are top-notch writers. Just imagine if Naren Shankar was back, because he used to be there, with Star Trek. Imagine, it is night and day. Again, the mechanic, if you guys, the young lady mechanic, Sakai, was in Star Trek Discovery, and she was Tilly's imaginary friend that ended up being the entity from the mushroom dimension, and then she resurrected Culber in the giant piece of poop from another dimension. I'm sorry, that's what it looked like. And then she was in this, and I'm like, God, I've seen her before. And she was really good in this. So I'm like, it's the writing. It's the writing. I think they can do it. Bionic Belly Button. It feels like, well, this show doesn't waste any time. So they don't do any, you know what they don't do? They don't stop everything so they can cry for 5 minutes and tell each other how awesome they are. Or one of the worst traits of modern writing right now is positively affirming people unnecessarily. Like, you're really great for like doing a mundane task. I mean, that's what they do a lot of in Star Trek Discovery. But I think they can pull it off. I think they can. All right. It's good to see you here, Lethal. I'm going to take off. I babbled my way through this review. I didn't take any notes, but I think I did okay with a Swiss cheese memory that I have, abused with all the drug abuse in the 80s. And I'll be back for a Nerdrotic Nooner tomorrow at noon. It's going to actually be at noon this time, so we can talk about it some more. I'm going to watch these episodes again. And I will be talking about all 3 of these in detail on the Inquisition with Doomcock this Sunday. And I'm sure he's watched them, and I bet he liked them quite a bit, because I liked him quite a bit. Gary, you were really great for sitting in your chair. Well, you know what? I'm actually not going to be sitting in this chair for not much longer. Good night, mate. Good night to you. I hope you're doing well down there, Lethal. Lethal Lightning. Go check out his channel. He's a good dude right there. Funny guy. You funny? Do I amuse you? Thanks, everyone. Hail to the wrenches. Hail to the members. Thanks to everyone who super chatted. You keep the lights on here. And yeah, I'll be back on Wednesday for a Nerdrotic Nooner. I'm going to be on Unsafe Space with Carrie Smith on Thursday. I recorded an interview with Eric July today, which will be out, he said, maybe in the next couple of weeks. And Friday Night Tights, we have Upper Echelon Gaming on Friday Night Tights. And then Star Trek Discovery review on Saturday. And then we do it all again the next week. There will be, is there any movie reviews coming out? Wonder Woman, I guess. I'm going to review Wonder Woman on Christmas Day. Well, they'll be levitating. I can try to Master Force Theater. I can try to levitate. I don't think I'll be successful, but I'll give it a good shot. You know, don't know until you try. Tarka Jedi. Hi, Gary. Could you mention how important it is for people who go to AA meetings to look after themselves? Absolutely. I am a grateful recovering addict. I go to meetings outside now. I've gotten used to it. You have to bring your own chair. I find the Zoom meetings to be lacking that human connection. I think it's really important. So in this time of the coof, relapses have been catastrophically high. And I've friends who were solid as hell, friends who had, oh God, I don't even want to talk about it. A friend of mine who had 16 years went back out. I mean, like, people are going back out. I mean, you know, I'm not going to judge them. That's not what we do. But yeah, it's more important now than ever that you talk to somebody, you go out and get them help, go out to a meeting. If you're in a place where you can't get to a meeting, then do it on Zoom. By all means, do it on Zoom. But get out and talk to somebody. I've been upping my meetings lately, and it's really helped. So yeah, Tarka Jedi, thanks for bringing that up. Thanks for bringing that. Oh my God, George Mahalo, $99.99. Jesus, George. Jesus. Just a quick shout out to you, Gary. Been a hard few weeks. Sorry to hear that, man, but wanted to thank you all for what you do. Big Star Wars fan, but going back to check out The Expanse. Have a good night and great week. Hail Nerdrotic. George, bless you, my friend. Thank you. Wow. That is crazy. Yeah, I'm sorry what happened to Star Wars, folks. But all roads lead to Jake Skywalker. And they made it pretty clear when they put out that timeline. I have to put out a correction of my video, but when I recorded my video, I just watched the conference, so I should have gone and checked. So apparently one of the movies is going to move the story forward. And it was very important for somebody to hear that. So it's going to, the Rogue Squadron is supposedly going to move the story forward. We'll see if that happens, but supposedly that's it. And Taika Waititi's movie might do it as well, and I think they're going to do it in the Star Wars Visions. But for the most part, they didn't bring up the sequel trilogy at all. Like, not a word about it. And in the seminar, when Kathleen Kennedy was talking to the investors, she didn't tell anyone what the timelines were of anything except for the Ahsoka show and Rangers of the New Republic, which is a show I think they made up in the last week. But that might be the best one because it has Gina Carano. Can you imagine Gina Carano and Bill Burr? People would probably like that, I'm guessing. All right, now I'm going to leave. Thank you, George. Thank you, Bionic Belly Button. Avent Tom, Lethal Lightning, Juan Wong. I hope I didn't screw up that name too much. Eric K. Ragfire, 200 Watt Studio, Michael Geringer, welcome to the Proto-Molecule level, Adam the Last Starfighter, the 70s rock fan, Trena, pronounced like Trent, Trena, pronounced like Trend, Guthridge, Free, Kodiak Black, and again, 200 Watt Studios. Everybody have a good night. Not all who wander are lost.